Welcome to Navigating the Mess with me, your host, Leah Nistico. I'm here to inspire you to find greatness in your life amidst all the chaos. Join me while I talk about my real life stories and finding out who I truly am beneath all the challenges life can throw you. Let's find connection in our chaos. Hello, welcome back. The three books that I chose to share today are The Mountain Is You, Transforming Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery. This one helped me a lot. It's basically, about self-sabotage. It's really good with imposter syndrome. I've read this one a couple times and I will keep going back to it if I feel that imposter syndrome keeps coming back or I find myself self-sabotaging anything good that happens in my life. Another one is Forgiving What You Can't Forget. Discover how to move on, make peace with painful memories, and create a life that's beautiful again. This one I feel like is self-explanatory as well. I only read it once, but it did really help me. I also do have more quotes. They're just like short little things that are like truth bombs, and it really helps me. This one, which actually goes with today's podcast episode really nicely, it's called Anxiously Attached, Becoming More Secure in Life and in Love. I have a lot of anxiety. As a person in a relationship, I was very anxiously attached. So this one definitely helped me figure out why I was so that I could help myself. Today's podcast episode is my journey with constant anxiety and depression and how adding medications into my daily life helped me. I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder as well as depression and CPTSD. So PTSD from chronic trauma from growing up in childhood. So because I had all of that living as a child, I had a lot of anxiety and depression from a very, very young age, and I didn't know. It's hard to have all that and not know because you think that there's something wrong with you. The people around you are just very uncomfortable and confused. It really angered my mom. I was almost not allowed to be not in a good mood when I lived with my parents because it made her uncomfortable. She always needed me to be happy and at peace, and obviously nobody's going to be like that, especially children. Their moods go all over the place. My kids have tons of mood swings. And if you add in puberty as a girl going into womanhood, there's going to be tons of mood swings and just your brain chemistry, just everything's all over the map. She almost couldn't handle my moodiness or always being kind of down. She kind of projected her feelings onto me and would say like, you are never happy, and kind of making me feel bad about myself and that there's something wrong with me. She would often say, there are so many kids or people in this world that have it way worse than you, so you shouldn't feel that way, which is telling someone that they aren't allowed to feel how they're feeling. And as a kid to hear that, you're going to think that you're a bad person because, there's other people out there who don't have a house or food and they have it a lot worse than you, and you feel guilty and shameful that you maybe feel this way and you don't understand. It's just, I found that I shamed myself a lot. Why can't I be happy ever? What is wrong with me? So I had that since I was a child, and I never knew what was wrong with me. I just knew that how I felt was a lot of anger and sadness and anxious in a lot of different situations. So because people were uncomfortable with all of my many emotions, I learned to stuff the bad ones away and only try to be happy in front of certain people. I know when I started a job, I noticed that a lot of people were very uncomfortable if you don't have a smile on. I was very busy at one of my jobs and you're just in the zone and you're not noticing that there's like customers because you're just so busy. And I had like a lot of older men come up to me and be like, life's not that hard. You need to put a smile on your face. It just always took me back and was, why is it so uncomfortable for the older generation or anyone to see someone not have a smile on their face? It's something to think about. Why does that make you feel so uncomfortable? Maybe I'm busy. Who knows what happened in my life, that I could be having a bad day. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have emotions other than happiness, excited, all the things that make other people comfortable. I remember I was working at a job and there was a girl working there with me, and she got a phone call and she found out that her uncle had passed away. I don't know why she was still working that full shift. She could have left, but she ended up working the shift, and a customer came in, looked at her and said, "Whoa, who died? Why do you look so..." I looked at her and I looked at the customer and I said, that was extremely inappropriate because you don't know what goes on in other people's lives. And yeah, somebody did pass away in her family. Immediately, the guy was uncomfortable. But why? Why are you saying stuff like that? Why is it so uncomfortable for someone to have any other emotions other than happiness? Just blows my mind. When I really found out that it was an issue was when I had an eating disorder and I went to the hospital. They didn't have any mirrors in the hospital room. It was at a really old hospital, and they were in the midst of making our new hospital here. They didn't have any mirrors for some reason in the hospital room. I was in that hospital room for 3 months without a mirror. I didn't know what I looked like. It's just a huge shock, especially if you have an eating disorder where it's all about image. Plus, when you look in a mirror, what goes along with an eating disorder is an image distortion from your eyes and your brain. I looked at myself and I had a distorted image of myself. So when I couldn't see myself for 3 months, I had a day pass and I was able to go home. At my home, they have mirrors there. So that was the first thing I did, was go look in the mirror. And it was a huge shock for me to going 3 months, you're going to change. You're going to gain some weight to a healthy weight. But it was unhealthy that I couldn't slowly see the gradual increase, I guess. It wouldn't have been such a huge shock to my system and my brain if I was able to look at myself throughout the 3 months and slowly get used to the new me, right? I went home, I looked at myself in the mirror, huge shock, immediately started crying, could not stop crying for the entire day past. That alone was distressing for not only me, because I couldn't stop crying and I didn't know why I couldn't stop crying, but it was also distressing for the people involved in my house, right? My 3 brothers were like, what is going on? Why won't she stop crying? People are getting agitated. My parents were getting mad. Everyone was just having all these emotions. And it was so stressful to have me back home. They obviously immediately thought that there was something wrong. Did they come and check on me? No. If they did come and check on me, it was to tell me to stop crying. To tell a person to stop crying, I don't know. If my kid was at home and bawling, like crying like somebody died and couldn't stop, I would immediately try and comfort my child and try to figure out what's going on and what's wrong and how I can help them. I have compassion. That did not compute in my parents' or anyone's brain, because growing up in a household, there was with no compassion for anyone. My stepdad, I would hear him yelling, "Oh my God, shut up. Why doesn't she just shut up?" So you're crying, you're in distress, you're hearing this. I'm hearing my brothers from downstairs, screaming up the stairs, tell her to shut up or bring her back to the hospital. Like, nobody wanted me there, it felt. And nobody was trying to help me calm down either. So immediately from that day pass, my parents brought me back and was like, there's something wrong with her. You need to fix her. And yeah. And then immediately I had psychiatrist come to my room and talk to me, and a counselor. And what's funny is I did create change because I said to them, I didn't have a mirror in my room for 3 months. And then I went on a day pass and I saw myself in the mirror and I started freaking out. Oh my God, I'm so fat. All the things, right? So I needed to have a lot of therapy because of that. There were doctors and nurses in my room while I was explaining it to them. And they said, we need to tell the people creating the new hospital that on the pediatric floor, they need to put mirrors in the bathrooms so that this doesn't happen again, because this is extremely distressing for everyone involved. I was happy that I was able to create some change from that experience, but ended up needing a lot of therapy because of that experience. But because of that, I was also put on medication. It was really strong medication. I didn't want to be put on it, but I didn't have a choice because I was a child and my parents were like, yep, fix her, do whatever you need to do, give her anything that you need to give her so that she shuts up and stops crying. So I was on this medication and I feel like it shut off all my emotions. I was just walking around like a zombie. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I wasn't crying. I just never cried, but I also didn't have any type of feeling. I didn't like that. So over time, I ended up taking it. It ended up doing the adverse effect. Maybe it wasn't the right prescription or it wasn't the right dose. I don't know, but it started giving me suicidal thoughts. So I ended up stopping it without talking to a doctor just because I didn't like how it made me feel. I just stuffed my emotions again and did not let that happen again. I did not want to have a crying fit. I did not want to look sad and upset so that my parents would put me on a medication again. And the cycle continues. But the feeling of having constant anxiety and depression every single day, to me, is like you're treading water, like you're almost drowning. And anything that happens, it's such a big deal. I didn't know what life could be like other than that. That's all I knew. That's all I knew for 37 years. My brain was almost acting against me, telling me things that aren't true. The anxiety that I would have in certain relationships when I started dating, or even when I was married, or in relationships with friendships, I would always look for potential dangers, red flags, but something that could be so small was such a big red flag to me. And the mindset I would have was always negative. I could be having a conversation with a friend, whether it be over texting or in person or on the phone, and he or she would say something to me and I would perceive it in a different way, and immediately a negative way. Even though maybe they didn't say it or mean it that way, my brain took it that way. And I would immediately react from that and either cut them off for weeks or months, not talk to them, or get so mad and have a huge fight with them. Because of the PTSD that I had, it made it so much worse in trusting people. I trusted no one. It took a long time for me to trust anyone, friends, whoever. I lived a life that was a deep-rooted sadness, and it didn't matter. I could have a good day or be at a birthday party and looking happy, but there was always a deep sadness within me. My brain would always wander. I always tried to keep busy so I wouldn't have to think about things or feel the things. So doing chores, I would put music on, but just everything brought back memories. And that's basically, I would just live in the past memories of sadness and hurt and pain all the time. And I couldn't get that out of my head. Didn't matter how many chores I would do. It would always go back to constantly ruminating about certain situations in my life. I remember even years ago where I'd be cleaning the bathtub and I would just be getting random flashbacks from my childhood or just any type of sad, painful flashback. Couldn't run away from it. It would always follow me everywhere I went, no matter how busy I was or not busy. I could be trying to watch a show, and if I binge watched a show, I would always become depressed. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I would take in the show, and if it was a sad part of the show, I would take on that depression and it would ruin my entire day. Because I was always a little bit sad and depressed, if I would watch something sad and depressive, then that would be my entire feeling for the rest of the day. A lot of the times in adulthood, I would shame myself. Why can't I just be happy in life? I don't understand. I see all these other people happy in life. Why can't I? What's wrong with me? I don't want also my husband, my kids, or my friends to think that they are creating or adding to me being upset in life or me being depressed and sad all the time. I never wanted them to think, well, maybe it's me, that she doesn't love her life. That's not the case. I've always been like this. I couldn't understand why. I did go to therapy. I tried everything to switch my mindset around and nothing would work. I would try desperately saying affirmations and have affirmations on my phone on an alarm, say like 10 in the morning. My alarm would go off and show affirmation that might help me in life, like I am a good person or whatever, right? I tried everything and it just wouldn't help. After having kids and moving to the house of our dreams, I would still not be right. I would often say, I have everything that I have ever wished and prayed for. I remember being a kid and saying, I want to have a husband that loves me so much. I want to have kids and a really nice house. And I have all of that. Why am I not happy? What is wrong with me? I have everything I've ever wanted in life and wished for, and I'm still not happy. Maybe my parents were right. There is something deeply wrong with me. Through therapy and talking about it and researching about medications and talking to my doctor, there is something in a brain chemistry that was off. It's not that there's something wrong with me. It's that there's something off in the brain chemistry. In order to fix that, you would need to take some sort of medication. Even my hormones play a role. Even I'm not there yet, but I'm going to get there, is perimenopause. That screws up your hormones and your levels and your brain chemistry. And sometimes if people haven't been on anxiety and depression meds growing up or in adulthood, they start when they're in perimenopause because everything goes out of whack, and that you're not screwed up. There's nothing wrong with you, and there is a cure for it. You can take something that will help you. That's what I've learned and from my experience. When I was going through leaving my friend who really resembled a father figure in my life, that re-traumatized me from my childhood of losing my dad and never properly dealing with it. So now, being 37 and having to properly deal with that much pain that I've stuffed my entire life, it was an overwhelming amount of pain. Let me tell you what it was like. If I was not a zombie walking around, I was crying like a baby in my room. My kids were always worried about me. Is mommy okay? Is she going to be okay? Is she crying because of us? And I did not want that. So I talked to my therapist and I talked to my doctor and I said, something's got to give because I can't live my life like this. I'm extremely depressed and even my kids are worried. Everyone's worried. I know that I need to work through this in therapy because this is a long time coming. I never properly dealt with this pain, but I can't do it alone. It's too painful. I need something that will help me deal with the pain so I'm not crying every single day and I'm not ruminating about it or thinking about everything, having flashbacks. Like, something's got to give. My doctor throughout my life has recommended to put me on a medication multiple times, but I've always said no, because I've heard from other people that they may have went on an anxiety depression med and gained 50 pounds from it. And that scared me because of having an eating disorder and working so hard to fix that, but also working so hard on my mental health and my physical health to stay healthy in life. I didn't want to take a medication that's just going to make me unhealthy. I've worked too hard to get here, and I was scared that would happen. So when I finally went to my doctor and I said, I can't sleep at night. I have so much anxiety. I can't stop crying. I need your help. It's all in the doctor that you have. My doctor, amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better doctor. He's been with me my entire life. He knows my whole history. He said, going from your history and knowing how hard you've worked on yourself, your mental health, your physical health, I do not want to give you a medication that's going to disrupt that. Because I give you any type of just random medication, yeah, it'll help you, but I know the side effects is gaining weight. That's not going to help you. You're just going to become depressed anyway. So we need to work together, and I will find a medication that's really perfect for you. So he went through all these medications and found one that didn't have a side effect of gaining weight. And I started taking it. My gosh, I never knew life could be like this. It is so much better. I mean, It didn't happen overnight because nothing is going to. And going from not ever taking a medication to all of a sudden taking something, your brain needs to regulate, right? So it happened over Christmas time. So it wasn't the best time because of holidays. And I feel like we rushed upping the dose. So he started me on one dose. I immediately, day one, felt something different in my brain. I was a little bit dizzy. It kind of felt like I was high a bit, but any negative thought that came in was immediately shot back out. I had never experienced that ever in my life, and it was wonderful. So then all of a sudden, so it was like day one, day two, really good. Day three, depressed. So I thought, this isn't working for me. This isn't the right dose for me. But what I didn't know is that your brain is regulating because it's a new medication you've never taken before. So you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days as well. But the bad days were bad, like bad. So when they were so bad, I thought that wasn't the right prescription for me. So I waited 2 weeks and went back to the doctor and said, it was good. I've had good days and bad days, but more bad days. So he upped my dose after 2 weeks, which I think for my brain was a little too quick. When I upped it, I took it, I felt really sick. And I think it was a little too much right away. So I felt really nauseous and it didn't really do anything for me. When I went back after 2 or 3 weeks, I said, this isn't the right dose for me. I don't feel a change. And he said, oh man, okay, we're going to have to try you on a different medication totally, because this one was serotonin. And he thought it's basically like it helps with seasonal depression and anxiety disorders, and you should see immediate change. So he thought, oh, maybe your dopamine, which is based off of you don't feel a drive to do anything. I would just, if I needed the dopamine medication, I would have just been laying around on the couch, not doing anything, not having a drive to do anything. But that wasn't me because I still had motivation to do stuff. So he wanted to try it anyways. So he said, I need you to wean off of this medication and then we can start that medication. Weaning off this medication, it got good. So I went back down to the low dose of the serotonin medication. It was the best I've ever felt. And I was on it for just over a month. And I think 3 out of the 4 weeks of that month was magnificent. I was the best I've ever felt. I had so much energy. I was accomplishing tasks. I was so happy. I was joking around. I was being myself. I did not have social anxiety. I could talk to strangers. My husband was like, this is a new you. This is wonderful. I did have some bad days, but they weren't horrible. They were manageable. So then after, I think it was a month or 5 or 6 weeks, I went back and said, yeah, it's good, but it's not there yet. You can just feel it, especially when you go from feeling so good to then having weeks of not feeling like that. Your brain is like, you know what? I want to feel that good again. So I think we need to up the dose. Saw my doctor. He agreed. We upped the dose. Magnificent. Again, wonderful. And I think that's the right dose for me now because I've stayed on it for months and months now. But I think when my brain was getting used to it, it was just too quick. We didn't give it a good enough shot. And maybe my brain needed a month instead of 2 weeks to regulate. I've never known life like this. I am so happy in the life that I have. I'm so grateful for the people in my life that I do have. There's not many people, but I don't care. They are real people who are not fake, who love me fully, and it's reciprocated. There's conversations when there need to be. I have full trust that no one's going to leave. I've never lived a life like that ever. I always was scared that these people are going to leave. So I always did whatever they wanted and overgave so that they're not going to leave, and trying to control every situation so that they don't leave me. Not a place to live. Especially, I used to try and control their emotions, which is so wrong. The only person you should be in control of is yourself. and trying to control their emotions. So if I had an issue, either I wouldn't bring it up at all and I would just eat it because I'm too scared that they're going to get mad at me and leave me. Or if I brought it up, I would bring it up in the most gentle possible way I could. If they got immediately mad, I would say, oh, you know what? It's stupid. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I would backpedal and then apologize to them for bringing it up and try and make it up to them by, oh, I'll bake you something, or let's go out for supper, or, try and keep them in my life. Don't do that. It's not worth it. It's exhausting. So the only thing that you can control in your life is your emotions and your life and how you show up. From my experience, to try not to control the uncontrollable, because that's impossible, which is other people's feelings and how they show up. And that's on them. How you show up is authentically and with compassion, especially if you're bringing up something that's hard, a hard conversation. Lead with validation and compassion and maybe understanding them. If you start with the feelings, it doesn't come off so hard or blamey. That's just from my experience of bringing up a hard conversation. Nobody likes them. You don't want to hurt anybody, right? I'm sure they didn't want to hurt you, but if you approach it in a calm way that's validating and full of compassion, it softens the blow. That was totally off topic, but it's just from my experience and what I've learned in therapy, and so I thought I'd share it. Also, what I've noticed on this medication is, yes, I had therapy before being on medications. I learned how to regulate my feelings fully and know what to do when I was triggered. Without medication, it didn't always happen. I knew how to do it, but it was harder to do it. On medication, it's so much more easy. I've also noticed that when parenting my children, I have a lot more patience and compassion, and I'm showing up more as the mom that I would rather be. When I was put on this medication and it went upwards so quickly and I saw life through a new set of eyes, I was like, oh, I don't need therapy anymore. And that's normally the thing that happens, because I talked to my therapist about it. I said, life's going really good. I don't know, maybe I need to cut back on going to therapy. And she said, okay, I just want to let you know that when people do go on medication, that is the thought of stopping therapy. But you should still keep doing it if you feel that you want to, just because it will help you further in your healing, because you can take more, you can regulate your emotions better. That's a really good idea. I did cut it back. I was going weekly to therapy, but now I go every 2 weeks and it's still really good. But I didn't think that that was a regular thought or a normal thought that people had, was like, they're going to go on this medication. They feel super happy, so they're going to drop therapy. But if you drop therapy, how are you going to learn how to work through it properly if you don't go to therapy? So yeah, I'm going to keep doing it, as well as my doctor brought this up too. You can't always rely on the medication, because I said, I don't know a baseline, right? So all I know is how I used to live day in and day out for 37 years. I don't know what normal is. So how many good days am I supposed to have as opposed to how many bad days? So he said, normally we want to get you to be 5 out of the 7 days to be a good day. But because you have a bad day doesn't mean that the medication isn't working. Everybody has down days. Everybody has bad days, especially if there's sickness going around or something happens. It's normal. So in order to help yourself on those bad days, you need to not rely on the medication fully, but also have a routine for your mindset and stuff, which is kind of funny that he told me that, because he doesn't know, but that is exactly what I do every single day, even before medication. Is my routine is I wake up in the morning at 4 a.m. It's the only time I have during the day. I have a ritual. So I wake up and I make my pre-workout and I sip on that while I journal. So I journal and I read some books that are uplifting. I have a book that it's a page a day that gives you positive affirmations and it's wonderful. Then after that, I work out and I'm just like in a better mood. I remember last week I woke up and I was just in a crappy mood. You wake up and you're just not in a good mood, and that's normal. Everybody has those days. And I thought, oh man. So I started my ritual and my routine. And after I was done journaling, I was just in such a better mood. And then after I was done my entire workout and everything, my mood just totally switched. I don't know if that has anything to do with the medication too, but helping yourself with a daily routine and moving your body definitely improves your mood. It does for me. If I'm in a crappy mood, and I've already done my routine and I've had just a day at work, I'm going to go for a walk. That always is a mood booster for me. I love nature. So if I can walk outside is the ultimate thing. I have my headphones on and I listen to my music and I'm just out in nature, smelling the air, the fresh air. It's wonderful. It totally, after 45 minutes or even 30 minutes, I'm a different person. I come back home and I'm just so much more pleasant to be around because I've worked it all out, or I've walked, or whatever. I've just regulated my emotions. Being medicated, I still have thoughts, but I don't ruminate about anything normally. On a bad day, maybe, but it won't last long. I normally don't think negatively about my life or anything now. So before, not medicated Leah would constantly be in a negative state, ruminating about everything. But medicated Leah is positive. I think about positive thoughts instead of negative thoughts. If I'm cleaning, I have a lot of good ideas instead of negative. Remember when this happened, or a flashback, then I would start crying while I was cleaning. Now I'm just in so much a better mood, and I think about how I can improve our life more with our children and my husband. Well, we should get a puppy, or we should go on this trip. Can we do this? Like trying to improve our life. Or if I'm having an issue with one of our children, I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to navigate it. And I'll get some good ideas, talk it over with my husband. And he's like, wow, that is a really good idea. Let's try it. And it does end up working, or it doesn't, whatever. But I'm trying to positively better our life and better our life for our children so that they can live the best life that they can. I also noticed that if any of my friends are having a tough situation and they come to me, I've noticed I'm a lot more validating, a lot more compassionate, and I can put myself in their shoes. I also can give a lot of feedback and ideas. I've noticed they appreciate it. They appreciate it and me more, I believe, because I've gotten a lot of good feedback from them. Honestly, I have no idea where that came from, whether it's just been going to therapy and listening to how my therapist reacts or interacts with me. I will do that with them and just be there and validate and compassion. I can understand from your perspective as well as this person's perspective. I'm not scared to not agree with them. I used to be scared, and I would always agree with whatever my friend would say because I was scared that they were just going to leave me. But now if I approach it in a validating way, but also I can see the other person's perspective, and here's why, it might make them feel that I'm being real and authentic and I'm not just agreeing with them just to agree with them. It helps me be more authentically me. That's really what I've been trying to achieve all these years, is to just be myself and accept myself and not feel judged by others. Everyone's going to judge you if you're authentically you. Not everyone's going to like you, but that was an issue for me. It's not anymore. I just really want the true, real people around me, and everybody else, that's fine. Like if you don't like me, I'm unbothered by it. And that's like the most peaceful place that you can be. If you are just unbothered by that and you know that you have the real, true people in your life that matter anyways, your life's golden. It also has helped me see both sides from my past. I can see my side, and I can also see the painful side and maybe why my parents did what they did. It helped me get out of staying stuck, of just being in a blaming, negative mindset, and to see them as a person who was maybe scared to heal their pain, and that's why they chose these decisions that they chose to do. I'm not saying it's okay that they did that, but I'm seeing them as a person, and they're flawed, just as we all are. Everyone's flawed, and it's okay. But to know that I made a boundary for myself, that I still see them as a person, and everybody's flawed, but if they don't choose to change, then I'm not going to be around them. And that's okay for me. That's how I want to live my life. I'm not going to stay in a relationship with someone, regardless if I see them as a person, regardless if I know they're flawed. I'm not going to be okay with how they treat me. I'm not going to do that. Sorry. I've had some people come up to me and say, well, why can't you just accept them for who they are? I can accept them for who they are and how they show up from afar. I don't want to be subjected to that. Why do I have to feel in pain every time I go there and being hurtful, and I just have to shove that because that's who they are and they don't want to change? I'm sorry, but if you don't want to change, then I'm going to take a step back. You can be who you are, but you're going to have to be who you are without me. And maybe more people will start seeing that. And if you are finding yourself alone, maybe change. I don't know. From my experience in therapy, I've learned that I don't always have to be the one fixing myself, and I can't fix them. That's on them. If they want to do that work, great, but I can't do the work for them. So if they choose not to, I choose to take a step back, and that should be okay. I can't fix everybody for them. All I can do is try to fix me and work on me and my life, my family, and focus on the good things. This journey with anxiety and depression has been a long journey, but in the end, I see so much positives that came out of adding one simple medication for me. From being in that family to doing my life how I want to do it, I see positives from adding in a medication that positively helped me in my life. I'm going to keep going on this train for me, and everybody else can have their own opinion. I look through a different lens now at life, and I'm a lot more grateful for what I have and who I am. I'm a different person. I love that. It's just a lot more peaceful life. I don't have all this weight on my shoulders. It lifted. Anytime I have a negative situation happening, I can turn that into a positive some way or see the positives out of it. I never knew that. And I saw that people could do that. And I was like, how? How is that possible? But being on this medication was the best thing that's happened to me so far, I think, out of this healing journey, and the right time that I took it, because I've been to 7 years of therapy. So that all helped too. And then adding in this medication while still doing the therapy is just extra good for me. And I just see so many positives out of it. Thank you for joining me on Navigating the Mess. Hopefully some of this resonated with you. If so, please hit the like and subscribe button or leave a comment. I would love to share the comments every episode. See you next week, same time, same place.